Let's go on an adventure of the myth-busting kind. Hello and welcome to Capricious Conversations. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate you guys viewing. Every single viewer means a whole lot, so thank you for being here. I kind of wanted to take a minute today to remember and appreciate one of the late great reality shows on TV. And I know that all of you are hearing reality show and you're like, what? Let me clarify. I'm here to celebrate Mythbusters, which, while reality is probably one of the realest reality shows there is out there. Sure, they do a lot of editing, but this is all like real life stuff that they're testing, and it's really pretty cool. And it was one of the best shows on TV for a really long time. And I know that my family, we've spent a lot of time in the last 15 years watching it, enjoying it, learning things from it. It helped science for me a whole bunch, especially my interest in science. And for us, it was kind of sad to watch it go. So today we're going to kind of pay tribute to Mythbusters by recounting the top 5 Mythbusters myths. Number 1 on our list is, of course, the one that has to be number 1, the one that started it all, the JATO rocket car myth. So this was a myth about a guy who strapped jet rockets to his car and launched it off a ramp and flew like 20 miles into the side of a mountain. This myth is monumental for several reasons, not least of which that it's the one that started it. But the other monumental reason is that it totally bested the Mythbusters for like 10 years until the 10-year anniversary episode. It was kind of their season kickoff, and they finally figured out how to make the JATO rocket car work. And while it didn't exactly match the parameters of the myth, one of the reasons I love this is just the perseverance of the myth-busting crew to figure out how to make it work, and to go back again and again and again, trying things, failing at things. It failed a lot of times until they finally made it work. It didn't exactly meet the parameters of the myth, but it was a really great myth to watch and kind of see evolve through their scientific process, their teamwork process, and also just to see them finish it was really fantastic. So that's number 1. Number 2 is high up on my list because it's one that has ended up helping a lot of people. And if you pay attention to it, it could actually save your life one day. And that is, of course, the underwater car. So in this myth, they were testing ways to get out of a car that has been submerged in water. They did it both right side up and upside down. And they were figuring out if you can open the car door when it's underwater, or if you have to try and break a window or anything like that. They tried it, and from what I can tell from the video, it was a pretty scary myth, because Adam, who's one of the Mythbusters, was locked in a car, and they literally just dropped him in a pool. And I was like, okay, get out. And of course there were safeguards, but it was a pretty scary couple of minutes for him. And the things that we learned from that is that, number 1, you can't open the car door until it's completely submerged. And number 2, you should always carry something that you can break a window with, because that's going to be your best bet for getting out of the car. This myth has actually saved lives. Like, they have people who have written back to the Mythbusters since then to say, like, since I watched that episode, it saved my life when my car crashed into a river or crashed into a lake. And that, I think, is one of the best things about this show is, yeah, they did a lot of silly things and they blew a lot of things up, and are most of us going to do that? Probably not. But things like this can actually help people, and it made a real difference in a lot of people's lives, particularly those people who had that experience and were able to recall that memory and figure out how to get out of that car. So thanks, Mythbusters. That was pretty awesome. Number 3, I really enjoy, because this is an example of one that the Mythbusters never figured out. The Archimedes death ray was kind of like the JATO rocket car. They went back again and again and again and again, and they tried different ideas. They even had fans of the show write in their ideas. There was like a competition of people who said, I think this will work. They came up with plans. They flew them out there. They did this myth, I don't even know how many times. It was at least 4 times, 5, probably 5. 5 times that they did this myth, and they never got it to work. And the idea was that Archimedes had planned this way to focus the sun's rays with mirrors and light enemies on fire, specifically enemy ships that were off the coast of Greece. Which, when you say it, it sounds pretty absurd, and in practice is even more absurd, because the idea of a whole bunch of people focusing one beam of sunlight in one point for an extended period of time is kind of ridiculous. The sun keeps moving, and people keep moving. It's just not a reliable thing. But they were determined to figure out if it was even possible, and the fact is, no, it's not. And they definitively proved that 5 times trying to test this. A whole bunch of people wrote in, and nobody's idea worked. And I just love that one of the key sayings on Mythbusters was that failure is always an option. And in science, failure is kind of always an option. You don't know what you're doing, if what you're doing is going to work. And so they were just like, hey, you know what? It didn't work. And did we learn from that? Yeah. It's kind of like Thomas Edison talking about when he invented the light bulb. He came up with thousands of prototypes that didn't work. And a whole bunch of people were like, wow, you failed 2,000 times. And he's like, no, I just found 2,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And if you think about it that way, then failure is not terminal. It's just something that you learn from and then can move on from. So that's pretty applicable to every area of your life. Remember that, people. Failure isn't terminal. This next one is near and dear to my heart because, as you know, on this show we are all about adventure and the love of it and seeking it out, and this pays homage to something that helped to nurture my love of adventure way back in my childhood, and it is, of course, when they visited the Indiana Jones myths. I love Indiana Jones. If there was something that inspired me to pursue adventure and even art history and my love of history, it was probably Indiana Jones. That dude's cool. And they paid homage to Indiana Jones by testing out a whole bunch of myths, from the running through the temple with the darts getting shot out of the walls. They did swinging across a chasm on your whip, and they did a whole bunch of other things with it. And what they proved is that Indiana Jones is pretty legit, and that's rad. Running across pressured sensors and not getting poison darts shot at you, you can totally do that apparently, because they did it like 5 times. Even they did it faster than was shown in the movie. Yeah, and he still didn't die. You can outrun poison darts if you're running through a temple. That's good to know. You can also, if you have a whip and a rough tree branch, you can swing across a chasm, and that's also pretty rad. I don't know about you, but I carry a whip occasionally, and that's good to know that if I need to get out of a tough situation, I can. So thank you in 2 parts to Indiana Jones and to Mythbusters. I appreciate you guys. And number 5 on my list is a bunch of the myths that they used duct tape in. And the reason I love this is that it is an everyday household item. Most people have duct tape around their house in some way or another, either holding things together or just lying in a drawer waiting to hold things together. But the fantastic thing that they proved about duct tape is that it is incredibly resilient and incredibly useful. Specifically, though, the ones I want to highlight is duct tape airplane, duct tape boat, and duct tape car, which they held a car together with duct tape, and it actually drove. Like, they seriously took the jaws of life and like hacksaws and hacked this car apart and then stuck it back together with duct tape, and it worked. That's pretty amazing. They also made a duct tape airplane. They covered the wings of this airplane. I think it was like the frame of the wing. They covered it with duct tape for like an Alaskan bush plane. And the plane actually flew. This guy was able to fly the airplane. They didn't fly it super high because they didn't, want to take chances. But they proved proof of concept that you can make airplane wings out of duct tape. So if you're stuck in the Alaskan bush with a broken wing, duct tape is your best friend, my friend. They also were able to make a boat out of duct tape. Yeah, a boat out of duct tape. They took a frame of a boat, covered it with duct tape, and it didn't leak at all. They stuck an outboard motor on it and ran it all around the bay in San Francisco where they're based out of. And that thing never sprung a leak. It was super reliable. So here is what you take away from that. You should always have copious amounts of duct tape just in case. Turns out Red Green was right. That man You never know. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Thank you for sharing this video with all your friends. Let's go on an adventure.